Good morning. It's March 21st, 2023, and we're going to be talking about what sometimes people call a boring sector, but it's been thrilling of late, and that is consumer staples. If you have a Longbow subscription, you've probably seen on the top 25 tab on the right-hand side, and it's going to be, what are the securities with the highest trading range odds to the downside. So that's typically mean there's been a run up in the securities. It's not a good thing if you're looking to be buying into those. It makes a lot of sense, right? Because people are getting a little bit more defensive. They tend to be in some ways painted with the same brush as long duration assets, things that might go well in a deflationary environment. So we like to call them rust plus age. So real estate, utilities, staples, telecom plus healthcare. But in this case, we're looking at staples today because a whole bunch of things were on the right-hand side of the page. And when we see a pattern, we want to tell you about it. So today I've populated a number of the securities that were on the top 25 tab this morning. And one of them actually was overbought, but it's come back down a little bit. But you'll see the white here versus the green, which is the low end of the trading range, and the red, which is the high end of the trading range. They're all pretty much near the right-hand side of that. So staples have been overbought in many ways. You can see the odds. So the ride things get on the top 25 tab, it's when the odds are high. On the left side, it's when there's a lot of asymmetry to the upside. But if the stocks are on the right-hand side, it means that there's asymmetry to the downside. So you're going to be looking to protect those positions, trim those positions. It's not the day to be entering those positions. Or I guess you could short them if that's what your thesis is. So here you can see I've got the staples XLP here. All of these are neutral now, but we had Coke with the overbought signal earlier this morning. We've got Walmart, Procter & Gamble, Yum, Kimberly-Clark, and BJ's Wholesale Club were all on the list this morning, including Staples, the ETF. So all of these, but you can see that the core signal is neutral. The range right now is neutral. Pretty high odds to the downside because people plowed into them after the banking crisis here. Short-term signal, this is really when you differentiate amongst securities. So if I'm looking overall, I've got a signal of neutral, but then medium-term bearish. Why was it? Because when rates were going up, what happens to longer duration assets? They got bearish. But we could see these things flipping if people are still remain concerned over the intermediate term. If you start seeing this neutral turn to a positive, that's obviously something to watch. And then individually, Walmart was neutral and bearish, short-term, intermediate term, but Coke has been bullish. They had a good report. So this is something, when it's overbought, you obviously can take note of that. But if it got to the low end of the trading range, it means that, that'd be the time to be looking to enter if you want to build that position, fundamentally speaking. So this gives you the tactical side. Procter & Gamble, bullish short-term, neutral on the medium term. We've got more neutral on Yum Brands. Kimberly-Clark's more like the XLP, neutral and bearish. BJ's bullish, more like Coke. And then I actually put Bitcoin in here, not because it's a staple, but just this also was reaching the high end of the trading range for different reasons than a lot of staples. There's been a run up with the banking crisis. A lot of people are assuming that people took funds out of some regional and other banks and might have put them into crypto or alternative assets, and this might be one place. So be very careful. You can see the white line also near the red line, which means it's heading towards the high end of the trading range from a technical standpoint. So if there's any flight back, let's say the government says they're going to support all deposits, which looks like that's what Yellen saying this morning. You might see some of this give back because there might have been a flight here more recently into an asset like this. As we know from last year, like if Powell raises rates tomorrow, if there's other kinds of concerns about higher rates and inflation, this is a risk asset. This isn't the same thing as gold or the US dollar. So you have to trade it more like a security like these staples and other things. Well, that's it for today. We'll keep you on top of everything, which is there's going to be a big day tomorrow with Powell, and not just what he's saying, not just a rate hike or not, but really those dot plots of what do they mean. That's what we're going to be looking at for tomorrow. Are there cuts baked into the dot plot? When might they happen? Or are we looking for, series of additional hikes in the dot plot? So stay tuned. Tomorrow will be a big day, and we'll catch up on everything.